Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Forbes, and I'm an AARP Colorado volunteer. AARP can see and feel the trends. People 50 and older are more active, both physically and mentally, than ever before. They aren't slowing down. In fact, they're preparing themselves to do more of the things they love. So many older adults are exercising and eating right daily. They're taking the time to learn new things, and they know the importance of life balance, making sure that leisure and fun are significant parts of their healthy lifestyle. As part of that get up and go attitude, we're hosting webinars like Let's Chat Nutrition with Culinary Nutritionist Michelle Fox, where we can discover ways to keep our nutrition in check so that as we age, we can continue to do the things that we love without limitations. In tonight's episode, Nutrition for Better Sleep, Michelle will discuss the correlation between diet and insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. Learn how to make small changes to the food you're eating so that you can finally get some rest. In that lively spirit, we welcome you to enjoy our Let's Chat Nutrition webinar. While we hope you learn something new and insightful, we also want you to enjoy yourself, relax, and most importantly, have some fun. If you need captions, please note that you can start them yourself if you go to the More section located at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar at the bottom of the captions and click on Captions. Also, we'll be sending out the handouts from tonight in an email to all participants, along with the recording link. If you'd like to hear more about healthy living and nutrition, please check out our website, www.aarp.org/food/healthy-eating, which will be in the chat as well. We look forward to connecting with you. Here's Michelle Fox.
Thank you so much, Ben. Always great to see you. And to my community, I see people are still strolling in. I know with this Zoom, I think we're letting people in one by one. So as we give a few more people a little bit more time to enter the room, I would sincerely love to know, where are you from? And bonus points for one thing that you are grateful for today. As you think about it and you start chatting up in the chat box, I'll let you know my chat box is down here in the left corner. So if you see my eyes move, you'll know that I'm looking at the chat box. And then I have our screen for the presentation on my right. So if you see me looking there, please know this entire time you have 100% of my attention. So let's see, we've got Sheila in Jacksonville. Welcome, Sheila. I know this is getting a little later for you, so I promise to make it worth your while. We've got Jeffrey, Jill. I see Elk Grove, California. Oh, love Elk Grove. Who am I kidding? I love any parts of California. Welcome. We've got Addie and Aurora. Steve from Northeast Georgia. And he is grateful to have a new job. Yes. And then back, we'll give you jazz hands, Steve. Congratulations. That always feels great. And then I'll read just a few more. Andrea is also in California. Cheryl from Miami. We've got Toby in Albany. Oh my goodness. Okay. Welcome you all. I am so happy you are here. As you can see from the title slide and also from the invitation to get you here, today we are talking insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. I want you to know it just may be your diet. And so I am here to help inspire and encourage some new options. So let's jump in. Workshop promise number 1 for today. I will let you know all about insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. My workshop promise number 2 is that I will explain how your diet can help. Workshop promise number 3, I will hopefully inspire you to look at your current dietary choices. And then last but not least, my very favorite one, we are going to have some fun. Are you up for it? I want to see in the chat box. I want to see a kale yeah, or an absolutely, or I'm here for it, or I'm ready. I want to know who is with me tonight. We got a yeah, we've got a thumbs up. Jan said, you got it. Veronica says, yes, I am. Oh, we got a oh baby. Okay, yes. So, with that said, I want to actually start off with introducing you to my father. If you've been with me in any of my programs, there's a good chance you've met him before. I try to carry him along because he actually did pass away in 2014 from stroke and from high blood pressure, both preventable diseases in my belief, preventable by nutrition, by lifestyle, by fitness, by mindset. And I just bring that up and I like to open with that because one, you see, he's smiling. You see, I'm smiling. There's still a lot of love there. And I think he'd be really grateful that I'm sharing his story with you to just be a gentle reminder that your health matters. He passed away at the early age of 67, and I sincerely wake up every single day asking myself, okay, how can I get the message out there? How can I help just one more person not have an untimely demise like my father? So that is my dad, Michael Bates Johnson. So moving on, as we get into the nitty gritty of this, I do want to do a little housekeeping first, which is first and foremost, I want you comfortable. I want you to grab some water right now. This is a great time to grab some water, fill up your teacup, make sure you're comfy in your chair. Perhaps there's a door that can be closed to help you not have distractions or other noise. This time is for you. I sincerely want you to get what you need from this workshop. I want you to feel free to eat dinner. Most of us are not on camera right now. With that said, I will say I am saving 15 minutes at the end of the presentation. I'll turn off the presentation. I'll be right with you face to face. So I would love it if you had your camera on towards the end so I can chat it up. I already mentioned the chat box. So for my friends who are on their, I always want to say iPod for some reason. they think those have been, I don't even know if they still make those. But if you're on your iPad, how about, and or your iPhone, mobile phone, I'm sure you'll see the chat box on a separate screen from my friends who are on their desktop or laptop. Hopefully you see your chat box at the very bottom ribbon. Also, hopefully you have already received your handout if you want to follow along with tonight's presentation to make extra notes. If not, we will definitely make sure to get that to you in an email, I believe, at the end of the presentation. And let's see, what else? Oh, this one I definitely need to say, which is when I start talking about nutrition, oh my goodness, I get really excited. And so sometimes I talk really fast. And so if that's the case, if I say something and you miss it, please do not be shy. Put your question in the chat box. And then from my fellow community members who did catch what I said, if you could help each other out, whew, jazz hands. I call that community in action. So we are here together. With that said, I just want to double down on asking you to stay with me. I'm looking up at my wall clock here. We've got a solid 40 minutes before we open up for Q&A, and I want you to have this time. So if you're willing to turn off the phone, get any distractions out of the way, I truly think you're going to pick up on information that's going to stick with you for a lifetime. And hopefully, most importantly, get you more Z's. There's a good chance you are here because you want more sleep. So again, in the chat box, who is with me? Who's willing to put their distractions aside and stick with us in the community throughout this next hour together? Let's hear it in the chat. Can I get a Kalia? Oh, Elizabeth says me. We've got the same last name. Woo, woo. Great to meet you. I got the 3 thumbs up from Steve. Sheila says all distractions are aside. Okay. Yes, you guys get the party dance. Nicely done. Okay. This one I did want to put just to remind you that I promise I will say 15 minutes at the end where you can ask me anything you want, whether it's something regarding this presentation or something with nutrition. We have our amazing program director, Allison, with us, and so she'll be helping me to pull out some of the questions from the chat box. So If you can hold on to important questions from me towards the end, 2 thumbs up. Okay, so you are in the right place if you have struggled with insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and or sleep apnea. You are also in the right place if you wonder if there is a connection between your current health system. See, what did I tell you? I get really excited. Let's try that again. You are also in the right place if you wonder if there is a connection between your current health symptoms and your diet. You, my friend, are in the right place if you've decided that this is the year that you want to pay more attention to your health. And then, of course, you are in the right place if you know it's time to make a change to your nutrition. So, and perhaps you have other reasons. I want you to know, whatever your motivation, I fully support you. So this evening, I am showing up as your culinary nutritionist and your health coach. But the 2 other titles I love wearing as well are mom and wife. And yes, I'm a dog mom too. That's my Chloe dog. She's actually right behind the laptop, taking a little nap. And just quickly, just so you know who you are talking to this evening, I did get my degree in applied psychology at NYU. Followed a few years later, I went to the Arvigo Institute in Belize, and I studied with a shaman where we learned plant medicine and how to actually literally talk to plants and learn which plants go with which body parts to heal us. A few years later, I graduated from the Interconnection Institute here in Denver, and I got my certification in meditation. And then most recently, I got my certification from the Academy of Culinary Nutrition. So now, if you are multitasking, I would like to just invite you to come back to me. So what if I told you that there is a strong correlation between the foods that we eat and our physical symptoms, and that making small changes can increase our energy and help to support our well-being, including healthy aging? It's true. And I'm guessing you already knew that. So let's dig in and talk about it. This is the point in the discussion where I do need to pause and just let you know I am a nutritionist. I am not a medical professional. So everything that I share this evening is from my personal experience. It's from experience that I've witnessed in my clients. It's from my research, and it's through things that I've seen throughout the years. With that said, if you are questioning making some big life changes and or anything I recommend, if you want to try it, I do want to recommend that you chat with your own medical professional because, again, I am not a doctor. So now that we got that out of the way, thank you for giving me a moment. Okay, so tonight we're talking about insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. Let's first, though, I want to know who's in the room. I want to know what's happening in AARP. So let's take a little poll. Let me pull it up. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. Oh, I see. It came to my other screen. So let's launch this one. And as you are answering this poll, I can let you know it's completely anonymous. Nobody knows who's pushing what button. I can't even see it from this side, but I'm sincerely curious. What did you show up for tonight? Do you want to learn a little bit more about insomnia, a little bit more about restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea, or all of the above? Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, you guys are great. These are trickling in. You get a little shoulder shake from me as they're taking their time. I want to make sure everybody gets a moment to cast their vote. I'll give it 5 more seconds. And while I do that, I'm also going to go back and read the chat box. Oh, you all are amazing. Thank you for the smiley face, Andrea. Love it. Okay, so let me end the poll and share the results. So it looks like most of us want to chat about insomnia. Awesome. You are definitely at the right workshop. We are going to get into that. Not a lot of us are that curious about restless leg syndrome. Okay, good to know. I will keep that in mind. Sleep apnea. I have a interesting story there for you, so I'll do that. And then all of the above. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do the poll. So then, yeah, let's start with insomnia. So this definition that you can read on the screen, I pulled from the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. And it is, essentially, as you know, a common sleep disorder. I always have to say that kind of with a pause, common, because I hate that it's common. I want you to get sleep because we all know the health benefits for when we do get the sleep. But sadly, it is a common sleep disorder. With insomnia, you may have trouble falling asleep and or staying asleep and or getting a good quality sleep completely. So let's talk about some ways that nutrition can help. So without getting into the nitty-gritty of actual ingredients for this one, I want to offer up to you that if you are on like a relatively traditional schedule, I'm basing this off of somebody who might work 8 to 5 and or have, hobbies or things that they're doing during the day, to not eat past 8 p.m. because our digestive tracts need time to rest and digest. And so I say 8 p.m., but truly what you really want to be looking at is giving your bowels, also your brain, and pretty much all parts of your gut a minimum of 8 to 10 hours to rest. Ideally, we'd want to push that up to even 12 hours. And so if you're not eating, and I'll add even drinking past 8 p.m., then while you're sleeping, it gives your cells time to regenerate. It gives your brain a chance to relax. It gives, again, I can't stress it enough, it gives your digestive tract time to rest so that in the morning you do have that energy and you're able to hopefully sleep the night because your body parts aren't having to do extra work. Another thing I recommend, and again, I'll say the disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I will just say in the research I have done, and I personally take a magnesium supplement myself, I will tell you that magnesium is an amazing supplement to help relax our nervous tissue, nervous system tissue, also helps to relax our heart tissue. And so that's one that people have sworn by to help them sleep better at night and also to loosen bowels for those of us who might struggle with digestive issues / constipation. B12 supplementation is amazing at helping to calm our nervous systems. And as we know, we want our nervous systems as calm as possible throughout the day, but most especially at night, so that we can actually get some sleep. So with that said, I do want to recommend, if you have the means, meaning you have your own medical professional, if you find that after everything we talk about in this workshop, if you're like, oh, that sounds familiar, or oh, I relate to that, then it might be worthy of getting your hormones checked, because oftentimes we can feel ourselves getting like jittery, which means something's happening with our blood sugar. That would be hormones. We can find ourselves being like outrageously hungry, even though we just ate maybe 5-10 minutes ago. That would probably be our hormone, the ghrelin hormone. As you probably already know, I don't have to explain to this crowd, but insomnia can affect our sex lives because, I mean, you get grumpy if you don't have sleep. Like, who wants to be around that? It can affect our heart health. It can raise our blood sugar. So it can contribute to diseases like diabetes. And so anything we can do to get the sleep, this is what I'm here for, to help you find some answers. So it might be worthy of getting your hormones checked by your primary care physician. So a few ways that hormones may be affecting your sleep. I want to give you kind of like a little diagram with my hands. I'll do my best to verbalize it as well, because I know my screen's kind of tiny with this presentation up. But before I do that, in the chat box, I want to know, can somebody tell me the most highly purchased over-the-counter supplement in the United States of America? Just give it a wild guess. There's no judgment here. We're all friends at this point, but I want to know. And Jeffrey for the win, the first one and the right one. Nicely done. So yes, melatonin. And why I say it that way is because it just kind of makes me sad, because it tells me that Americans are not sleeping for various reasons, which we'll get into a little bit this evening, because this circle, we're going to get more sleep after this workshop. But yes, melatonin is the largest requested, the largest purchased over-the-counter supplement. And with that, I'll just jump ahead in case there is a question there. I can't even say never. I will just say melatonin is fine if you're on it for a little while. If it's been 3 to 6 months and you find that you still are depending on it to go to sleep, that's when I would definitely look at other parts of your lifestyle choices that could perhaps be interfering with your sleep. So hopefully that helps. And so what I was about to say with my hands, so in a balanced body, typically we'd have the cortisol kind of going to keep us going all day. And the cortisol is affectionately known as our stress hormone. And so as we're getting to the nighttime, it starts to decline, whereas we want the melatonin to start rising. And the melatonin, again, is what's going to help us sleep. That's also known as our sleep hormone, also our feel-good hormone. But then again, in a healthy, balanced body, that cortisol is going to gently kind of grow in the morning. And that's what helps to wake us up so that we are alert and ready to greet the day. Sadly, because of a lot of our high stress lifestyles, the cortisol is going and going and going. And so it's going in our brain, kind of circling around while we're trying to sleep. And that is what leads to so many other issues. So let's find some ways to lower that cortisol. A few suggestions. As I mentioned, you might want to get your hormones checked. And while you do that, of course, ask your medical professional if they have some suggestions on how to get those hormones balanced. But I'm going to go a little bit out of order from my bullet points here, but I would love for you to indulge me and do this quick meditation. It's going to be under 30 seconds, I promise. But if you can get comfortable in your chair, and if you're comfortable closing your eyes in your space, I want you to put your right hand over your heart, and your left hand, I want it to kind of cradle your tummy. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And I want you to go in your own timing. But as you breathe in through your nose, I want your belly expanding out towards your hand, and then out through your mouth, and belly retracting again. In through your nose. How does that feel? You, my friend, just lowered your cortisol. I will tell you, this is probably my favorite part of doing the presentation, because my heart rate just came down. My energy just mellowed out. Imagine what that could do for you if you did that every night before you go to bed. You can do this laying down if you want to, and it's under 30 seconds. It's not a big ask. You can do that. That's going to help to release some of that mind chatter in your brain that can often keep us awake. You can do this first thing in the morning as you're setting your intention for the day, and or maybe trying to avoid that inbox that you know is waiting for you. It's just a wonderful way to bring yourself back to center and relax. And I'm actually curious, sincere curiosity, like how many people do I have in the room that are actual meditators, like who have a practice where every day, or, we're all human, but maybe most days that you are meditating in any types of way. So Maureen says her, Anna, Mitchell since 1979. Oh, so you could teach me some things. So yeah, so you get it. A simple 30-second meditation can just, it can make a world of difference. Clearly, if you can do it up to 10, 15 minutes, imagine what that could do for your stress levels. So I hope you can accept that gift. Lovely. So 2 more things and then we'll move on to restless leg syndrome. Technology. Last time if you were with me and we did this nutrition workshop, I got a little bit of pushback, but I'm still holding on to it, which is blue rays. So I want you off of your technology. I typically say 8 p.m. I don't know why that's my default. Well, actually, I do know why, because that's mine. I make sure by 8 p.m. I'm off of the screens, off of my phone, laptop. I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, and my sleep truly is delightful. So I just offer that to let you know that those of us who like to read our either laptops or Kindles late at night, I just would like to perhaps inspire you to maybe make a different choice, because Blu-ray light tends to have a 6 to 8 hour shelf life. And so when we're, innocently either reading our book or doing our work or whatever it is with the screen time, those Blu-ray energies are swirling around our brains. And so I just offer that to you as perhaps something that might be keeping you awake at night. Last but not least, black out your windows at night. Just this weekend, I took a little trip away because mama needed a break, and the hotel had these amazing blackout windows. I slept for 10 hours straight. I mean, that clearly speaks to something else. I was definitely stressed out, but I woke up truly feeling like a new woman. I'm like, okay, like I thought my blackout windows were great here at the house. We're going to get an upgrade, because that made all the difference. And so I offer that to you as well. Okay, so that was insomnia. Let's jump right into restless leg syndrome. So this definition I pulled from the Mayo Clinic, Mayo, however you pronounce it. And it's a condition that causes an uncontrollable urge to move the legs. Sometimes people call it like a tingling, or like, sadly, I've heard stories of like a bruising on the leg, or like uncontrollable kicking in the middle of the night, which of course is never fun if you're sharing a bed for either of you. But these are some of the things that people have reported. It typically happens in the evening or at nighttime. And it's also known as the Willis-Ekbom disease, and can begin at any age and generally worsens as we age. But again, after tonight, not so much, because we are going to make a few little tweaks with our nutrition, which I'll share in just a moment, that are going to help. All right. Let me just double check my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything here. If you've had these symptoms maybe in the past, don't be surprised if they will surprisingly show up when you least expect it. It can often be because of the stress that we just mentioned. Perhaps look at that. And if that's the case, then you'll know, oh, this was just a temporary flare-up, probably no big deal. But if you're noticing this happen, I like to say 3 months is a good window of time. If you look back and the last 3 months you're having these issues, that's definitely a time that you might want to ask for some help from a medical professional. Uh, and I want you to know you are not losing your mind if you're feeling any of the things that I said, the creeping, the crawling, the kicking. A lot of people don't report RLS, restless leg syndrome, RLS for short. They don't report it because they don't think they're going to be taken seriously. But I truly want you to advocate for yourself if you have any of these symptoms. You deserve good sleep. With that said, there are some nutritional things we can add to our diet to help. So potassium is an amazing mineral that will help kind of loosen up some of that tightness that can cause the RLS. We can grab potassium out of our avocados, bananas, spinach, fish, and of course, D3 supplementation. Iron is another amazing supplement that can often be really low in people who are suffering RLS. And so to increase your iron in a natural way, you can get iron from eating lentils, beans, dark leafy greens, almonds, and edamame. Now this picture, it always makes me giggle because I always think this picture in the middle looks like a football. But up to this point, I've talked about a few items we can put into our diet to help us relax, help that RLS go away. But with these pictures that you see here on the screen, can anybody tell me in the comments what I might ask you to either release altogether or take in very, very moderately? Okay, coffee. Good job, Denise. Yes, the first one is a coffee bean and alcohol. Thank you, Jamie. Nicely done. So yes, and do not shoot the messenger. This is what the research says. um, I do like to say, of course, moderation. If you are attached to these things, I'm not going to come to your house and snatch them out of your cabinets. I will say, though, if you do struggle with RLS, and especially if it's a temporary situation, then, going a few days without your favorite cup of coffee and or red wine, I think you'll be okay. In fact, I know you'll be okay if you want to alleviate these symptoms. So just wanted to mention that. I'm going to move on before I get too many daggers through the screen. Okay, let's talk about sleep apnea. So I actually have suffered through sleep apnea. Back in the day, it was almost 10 years ago now. I did do a sleep study, and it turns out I have sleep apnea. So picture this face with the CPAP on her nose every single night. I live with it. And I giggle because I remember I was actually single at the time. I was recently divorced when I went through this, and I was dating, and I asked my therapist, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. This is not in my notes, but clearly I feel like we're friends now. But I remember telling him, I'm like, this is not sexy. I can't sleep with this, CPAP on my face. And he looked me straight in the eye and he's like, too bad. He's like, it's sexy to have your heart beating. And I'm like, oh, yeah, good point. And ever since I've held on to that. And I want you to know that because you see my profile. A lot of times people go or have the misunderstanding that only men with thick necks and really large heads have sleep apnea. But sadly, no, it affects all types of people with all types of bodies. And so I share that also to say, if you have maybe friends in the next room, and or if you have a partner, if anybody in your life has told you that you snore, it could be sleep apnea, and it definitely may be worth checking out. Because, and I got this definition from, let's see who this one came from. Oh, this was also from the Mayo Clinic. Okay, so it's a common condition, again, with that word common, in which your breathing stops. That means your heart's stopping and restarts many times while you sleep, which, I understood quickly after my sleep study, like, oh, that's why I've been so stinking tired all during the day, because I wasn't necessarily sleeping during the night because my heart was stopping and starting. So this can prevent your body from getting enough oxygen. Again, you may want to talk to your healthcare provider about sleep apnea if someone tells you that you snore or gasp. That's another one, gasping during sleep. Or if you experience other symptoms of poor quality sleep, such as excessive daytime sleepiness. So for sleep apnea, a few things that help with nutrition. I strongly recommend pretty much everybody adhere to an anti-inflammatory diet, but specifically if you're struggling with anything having to do with your heart starting and stopping, we definitely want to focus on a I will say as clean as humanly possible diet. And so that's going to include our fresh vegetables, our organic meats, if we can afford them. I know sometimes people raise their eyebrow when I talk about organics. And what I like to say is, yes, organic foods may cost a little bit upfront now, but it's going to cost a whole lot less than if you were to pay for all the medical bills as we age. I just got a little tickle in my throat, so pardon me. I'm going to grab some water. Feel free to join me in a water break. Okay, thank you. So yes, fish is an amazing source of nutrients. Nuts, if you can tolerate nuts. So I say seeds if you cannot tolerate nuts. Avocados again, and then of course, low to no alcohol if possible. And then again, I can't stress it enough. If you are in doubt and if your insurance covers it and or if you can afford to pay for it, I absolutely recommend going for that sleep study. It's actually kind of fun. And I always just find it fun to find out more things on how I can, or find out more ways and how I can get healthier. All right. A few of the top allergens to consider that may be affecting your sleep as well are gluten, dairy, corn, and soy. And then we already spoke about the alcohol and the sugar. With the dairy, and as I look at the time, I'm going to kind of flip through these pretty quickly so we have time for Q&A at the end. But with the dairy, it can be highly inflammatory for a lot of us. And I like to say dairy was made for baby cows. The caffeine, we already spoke about a bit. And I will just say, similar to the blue light, caffeine also has a shelf life. And so if you are going to drink caffeine, I strongly recommend getting that in the first part of your day because it tends to circulate around our brains for many, many hours after we consume that caffeine. I know right before we hit the record button, there were a few people on the call that were indulging and talking about their caffeine. And I just smiled because I know I'm the messenger, but this is what the research shows. And I want to give you the information so that you can take it, perhaps make some changes and get some sleep. Sugar is a stimulator. I don't know that everybody knows that, but sugar can be a stimulant, but also can contribute to depression as well. But I like to think about it as kind of a roller coaster ride. So if you're eating sugar late at night, this is what's happening in your brain. And so then, of course, there's no wonder you can't sleep because your brain's doing a lot of work. It's tired. And then gluten. That is, I think, the hill I just might have to die on because gluten is not harvested today the same way as it was harvested when our grandparents were eating wheat and gluten products. And so because of some of the chemicals, because of the turning of the soil so many times, gluten can be a stimulant that's actually keeping us awake at night. And so we get to choose when I am looking at the foods that I am eating, whether it's, an apple from my snack, or if it's a gluten-free donut. And yes, I said donut because I am human. So I'll admit, yes, sugar does enter my body once in a while, but I notice a difference. Am I increasing my health with this apple? Or am I depleting my health with these gluten-free donuts? The good news is I get to choose, and better news is so do you. So I did want to look at gluten just a little bit closer. And again, I want to be mindful of time. So quickly, I want to run through what it is, why you should avoid it, and sneaky places that it hides. And so according to Harvard Medical School, gluten triggers an immune response that damages the lining of our small intestine. This, in turn, interferes with the absorption of nutrients from our food. It can cause a host of symptoms and lead to other problems like osteoporosis, infertility, early onset menopause, and insomnia. And no worries, I am not going to police your gluten intake or your dairy intake or your alcohol intake. Again, I just want you to have information to make healthy choices for your body. I also want to let you know that just because something says that it's gluten-free, it does not automatically mean that it's healthy. There are plenty of processed items on the market right now that are loaded with corn syrup, excess sugar, preservatives that you don't want in your body. And yes, they might be gluten-free, but it doesn't mean it's serving your highest and best health. As I mentioned, gluten does cause inflammation, and the Celiac Disease Foundation estimates that gluten, aka affecting us as celiac disease, affects 1 in 100 people worldwide. So a few sneaky places that it hides, because you're like, yeah, Michelle, I've heard the word gluten. In fact, you keep talking about it, but where is it? How do I avoid it? I will say here are just a few places, and I believe I listed out a few of these in your handout as well. But soy sauce has gluten in it, and I just never understand that, because the gluten-free soy sauce, I promise you, it tastes identical, it looks identical. There's just not the wheat in it. But soy sauce, the envelope sealer, when you're like, licking the envelopes, that has gluten in it as a binder. And so I recommend using office supplies to seal your envelopes. Some chewing gum has flour on it to keep it from sticking to the wrapping paper. Salad dressings, I mentioned that as a key to remind you, wink, wink, to read your labels on anything that you're buying at the grocery store so that you know what you are ingesting. Some ground spices have flour in them to keep them kind of like an anti-caking agent. So again, read the label there. Instant coffee, and then hard liquor. So to recap, if you have insomnia and or restless leg syndrome and or sleep apnea, or if you just have like this belly bloat that just won't seem to go away, if you find your brain kind of foggy, if you get night sweats, and or if you have other hormonal balances, it just might be gluten or corn or soy, because all of these can be quite inflammatory. So as you take in this information, I just ask that you keep an open mind. Take what works for you, leave the rest. But it feels like my job, it feels imperative that you have the information that you can work with. And don't just take my word for it. Give it 3 days. Perhaps if you have a sneaky suspicion that that popcorn bowl that you love to nibble on while you're watching, I don't know, The Real Housewives of LA. I don't even know if they have one of those. I don't even know why that popped in my head. But if you have the inclination that, maybe that's why my back kind of aches or my knees swell up, because that's what happens when I eat popcorn, then maybe just try giving it up for 3 days and seeing how you feel. So, how does it feel to know that you have the ability to create wellness in your body? I want to see. Oh, yeah, you guys are talking it up in the chat box. I love this. Cindy is saying that ground flax seeds have really helped me with night sweats. Ooh, I love that one. I don't know that I've heard that, but it would make sense because it's an amazing source of protein. So nicely done. All right. Well, so from my people in the back, I have your attention. Come to me. I want to know if you are ready to just make one change, I would love to see it in the chat box, because when we write down our intentions and we have an audience to share it with, that gives us an extra level of accountability. So I just threw a whole lot of information your way, but I would love to know just one thing that you can change this week. Are you going to increase your water to help flush out some of those toxins? Are you going to commit to no blue rays after 8 p.m.? Are you going to, as I'm nodding my head with my teacher hat on right now, are you going to try to eliminate gluten for up to 3 days and just notice how you feel in the morning after a really good night's sleep? I want to know. So let me check out this chat box. Leslie's committed to turning off technology after 8 p.m. Nice. Same with Marcella. Woo woo. Hi, Marcella. Great to see you. Let's see here. Oh, Andrea just bought the blackout drapes. Just bought them, hanging them tomorrow. Yes, yes, yes. Susanna is going to do no gluten. Pamela's no water, or increasing the water. Oh, you guys are amazing. Oh, nicely done. Nicely done. Okay. So with that, reaching certain goals can take a village. And I just want to let you know, we'll be back June 1st and also on July 6th. So if you want to be in the kitchen cooking with me, which I really hope you do, we're going to be making a cherry pie. It's going to be June 1st, 6:30 p.m. Mountain. And then the following month, I'll be back July 6th, and we'll be talking about how to decrease your menopausal symptoms through the power of nutrition. And it looks like I'm going to have to add this flax seeds to my talk. So thank you for that tip. So save the date on that, June 1st and July 6th. So I want to reiterate that making small changes, which you have in your handout, which we just talked about in this workshop, can truly bring you more energy than you thought was possible, can give you more confidence when you know that you're eating for your body and you're getting that sleep at night, can give you increased focus when you actually have the sleep that you deserve, balance your hormones, bring you more pleasure, and can give you a better appreciation for your body. So just as a reminder, my handsome dad, Michael Bates Johnson, I have no doubt he's here with us tonight, just reminding us that we are worth it. We do not have to have an untimely demise. We get to age healthfully and in the way we choose by making small changes with our nutrition. So it is time for Q&A. I'm going to turn this presentation off. But first, I want to read this affirmation by Louise Hay, a woman I admire her work, have admired her work over so many years. But this is a beautiful affirmation. You're welcome to borrow it, screenshot it. But this one keeps me going. She says, I am balanced and peaceful in all changes of cycles, and I bless my body with love. All right, let me turn off my screen share. I will be up close and personal. So if you have not put your questions in the chat box, please do. And then if you want to turn your camera on, I would love to see your beautiful faces. Let's see.
We have lots of questions.
Oh, great. Okay, bring them on.
So one of the things that people are asking is, hold on, if you could put up the 2 slides with the nutritional support for insomnia, which lists food.
Happy to. Let's see. I think that was towards the beginning. So let me keep clicking. While I look for that, is there another question you want me to answer?
So you're saying to not eat after 8 p.m. So if you eat dinner earlier, how many hours before bedtime should it be?
Just when I thought I could multitask, I cannot write down the slide. So I'll put that on pause and I'll answer this question first. So would you be willing to read that question one more time?
Sure. So if somebody's going to eat dinner earlier to avoid that 8 p.m. Cutoff there, how many hours before they go to bed should it be? Like, so if they go to bed, let's just say they go to bed at 9.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours beforehand?
That one, I would definitely say, listen to your body. Only you will know. I know there has been research that says you do not want to go to bed with a full stomach because that turns to belly fat a little bit faster because it turns to sugar faster, which increases our insulin. And so ideally, you want to stop eating a minimum of 2 hours before you go to bed. With that said, I'm really more focused on the amount of hours that you're not putting something in your face. So like the minimum of 8 to 10 hours while we're sleeping so that we do get that chance to rest and digest.
Perfect. And then Jacqueline asks how to take the flaxseed that helps with the night sweats.
Yeah, so that was somebody else's recommendation. So if they want to put that in the chat box, I would love to know.
Okay. And then Marla asks, how does hard liquor have gluten?
Love that question. So it's the way that it is. And again, I think this might be the screen that you might be asking for. So yes, it's the way that the hard liquor is processed. So a lot of the barrels are covered in wheat. And so I'll just say in restaurants, I often see the small print of, the amount of gluten is so minuscule, it won't affect you if you have celiac. And I'm just always like, well, the fact that it's there, I would rather just choose something else. So again, everything in moderation. And if you choose to drink the hard liquor, I'm not going to follow you around. I will say though, just pay attention to see how you feel when you avoid it. How about that?
No, and I think that was a great point that you made, Michelle, as far as like try and take stuff out of your diet for a little bit and see if that makes a difference. I'm always a fan of like the food journal if you're thinking that the food that you're eating is causing issues. Write things down so you can think back of like what's triggering the problem. So the next question is also from Marla, and I'm gonna probably pronounce this wrong. Edamame.
Edamame, yes.
Is good, but it is soy. Do you eat that in moderation?
Love that question. Yes, the research is still out. In fact, I just did a podcast with a dietitian who was very pro edamame, pro soy, and I asked her, I'm like, so please tell me you're also asking your clients to make sure that that soy is organic if they use it. And she's like, I will just say the research I have seen and done, I only recommend the organic soy products if you are going to ingest them, because yes, they can affect our hormonal balance as well. With that said, there is actually a lot of positive research that says women and men who are in that menopausal time, and I call it menopausal for the men, that soy actually can help to decrease the hot flashes and the night sweats. And so with that, I would just say, make sure it's organic edamame and or organic tofu if you're ingesting it.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
then we had a question from Arthur, and this was when you were talking about the sleep apnea and you had the slides up that had like the fresh vegetables, organic meat, fish, and he asked, what about milk?
Yeah, so that would go into the dairy category. Sorry, Arthur, I'm saying 2 thumbs down still, because dairy milk can be very inflammatory for a lot of us. Again, I am not a medical professional, and I know that I get some pushback on that one. I strongly recommend you get your calcium and your iron from the green leafy vegetables. You're going to have the organic edamame that actually has some calcium in it as well. And even oranges, believe it or not. I recently learned oranges have a good source of calcium as well.
Awesome. Oh, what about goat milk?
I actually am a fan of goat milk. Yes. Goat milk. Also, if you can tolerate nuts, almond milk is a wonderful source of protein and fiber and healthy fat as well. So
Awesome.
if you have to have milk, I strongly recommend a plant-based milk if you can.
And then which is the right doctor to discuss RLS with?
Love
And that's
that
from
question.
Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. I personally would start with your primary care physician, because again, it could be as simple as hormones just needing to get balanced out, and or perhaps they can walk you through your lifestyle. Maybe you're going through an inordinate amount of stress that perhaps they can help you with. But I would start with my primary care physician for RLS.
Okay. And then I don't think we showed the slide.
Oh, I had it up, but let's go back because I want to make sure people have what
Okay.
they need. And I think I have this in the handout, this slide.
Yeah, I think pretty much the whole, this is the rest, they're asking about the insomnia.
Oh, okay. So for insomnia, I didn't give actual foods, but what I did talk about for the nutritional support was the not eating past 8, considering a magnesium supplement and or a B12 supplement. And then of course
Okay.
to avoid drinking any liquids past 8 p.m.
So, and speaking of magnesium, we have about 800,000 questions on magnesium.
Love it.
But before we get to them, because I'm kind of going in order, and I promise everybody I have all your questions. What about the use of the nighttime mode that turns off the blue light from your computer monitors and cell phones? They're on a dusk to dawn schedule. And that's from Chuck.
Yeah, love that question, Chuck. I would say that's moving in the right direction. I would also say they're still there. Like if the light's on, if the screen's on, the blue rays are still coming in. So it might not be as intense, but they're still coming into your brain waves.
Does TV have Blu-ray light?
It does. That's a big no-no. I know a lot of us have been in the habit. There's actually somebody in my extended family that still does this, and I kind of get on her case, but she'll fall asleep to the TV because that's like a soothing thing for her. But then she'll wake up at 3 or 4 and it's hard for her to get back to sleep. And it's because the blue rays are still circling in her brain.
Okay, now for the magnesium. Here they come.
All right.
Please mention the dosage of magnesium and B12 you suggest and why. Also, should you take B12 if your levels are within the norm? I took it and my values skyrocketed too high.
So let me answer the second one and then I'll go to the first, which is so glad that you're paying attention to your health, the fact that you know your levels, beautiful. So, and I imagine you're working with a doctor for that. So stay there. But then question 2 and question 1 kind of goes together, which is everybody's body is different. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't tell you the amount that you should take that's helpful. I can tell you when I first started on this journey, my primary care physician told me, so again, take it for what it's worth, but she said, take it to bowel tolerance. So magnesium, if you take too much, you definitely are going to have very loose stools in the morning. And so perhaps you start with, 1 pill and work your way up. And or if you want to do the research to see, your weight and how much is recommended, maybe you want to start with 2 pills, and if it's too loose, go down to 1 pill. So I would look at bowel tolerance with magnesium.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know like on a lot of the bottles, I want to say they recommend like 250 milligrams is like a serving or whatever. So maybe that's average.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable recommending.
Right. No, I
I
don't
would,
blame you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the bottle. And so here's another one about, it's the same exact question, but it also says, what if your serum levels are WNL?
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know either.
Okay. But I do love what Cindy is saying about important to find out your numbers with your doctor. So yes, I can't stress that enough. This is information I'm hoping you can gather and take to your doctor and say, oh,
Mhm.
Michelle at AARP mentioned this, this, and this. Hey, doc, what do you think? How can we adjust this so that I can get better sleep at night?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I just want to say that like I started doing the magnesium and I took it to my doctor and they helped me out, made sure that I was taking the right magnesium because there's a couple different kinds. And I think one causes really loose stools and one doesn't as much, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so
Well, but
thank you.
actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because the magnesium glycinate, that is actually easier for our body to absorb. And so I do, if you're looking at the different types, if you want that recommendation, I'm happy to point people towards the glycinate versus the generic magnesium tablets.
Right. That's what I think Cassandra just said the same thing, that the citrate is kind of the one that you want to make sure that your bowels tolerate, but the glycinate is a little bit gentler. And that's what my doctor said. But check with your doctor.
Always have to do the disclaimer, right?
Exactly. Check with your doctor. And the best time to take B12?
Oh, that's a good one because it does have a, yeah, it's so interesting because it does have a little bit of stimulant in it, like not enough to keep you awake, but I actually recommend taking B12 in the morning to kind of keep you calm during the day, help to keep those hormones kind of flowing throughout your day.
And then back to, this was probably when your insomnia nutrition tips were up there. And I think it is Jeannie said, not even water after 8 p.m.
Well, again, that's going to be personal preference. So if you drink water after 8 and you're able to sleep through, then awesome. And I am personally jealous. I know if I drink any water after 8 p.m., I'm usually waking up around 2 or 3 to go to the bathroom. So
Yeah.
just listen to your body, of course.
And then finally, I think this is the last one I have is this may be off topic, but Steve is a diabetic and his diabetic and my worst numbers are in the morning. He's a whiskey drinker, so when he drinks, my numbers are better. And he uses that as an excuse, I suppose. What can I do to help lower my BG numbers?
Yeah. So, Steve, I'm sorry, one, to tell you, that's probably a great question for a dietitian, because they are tracking numbers that way. And I don't know a lot about the science of diabetes. So, of course, as your nutritionist, I would definitely recommend pulling back on the alcohol if you can. I'm definitely not here to judge you at all. I will just say the alcohol turns to sugar so quickly. And if you're drinking it in the evening, that sugar is going to, of course, affect our hormones. And so it has the stimulating effect, then also the depression effect. And so while you're sleeping, this is what is happening inside of your hormonal regulation. It's not being regulated. So take that for what it's worth. And also, thank you so much for showing up tonight. I really appreciate that.
And then Cassandra just said, do you feel nutrition? Oh, here, we're jumping. Everything's jumping. I got to find it again.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Do you feel that the nutritional yeast?
Yeah, that's the one.
Good source of B12 versus supplement. Yes and no, Cassandra. I love that question. So yes, it's a great source. I just personally wouldn't want to eat it every day. I love supplementation just because you can pop pills and be gone with it. But if you're finding ways to incorporate it in your food, then absolutely, that's a great whole food source of getting that B12 into your body. So I love that you're aware of that.
And then back to Miriam's question about what dosage of magnesium and B12, what if your serum levels are WNL within normal limits?
Oh, thank you all. I'll take a note. Now I know within normal limits. See, that's community in action right there. I'm learning along with you. That is fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, wow. It looks like everybody knew that but us, Michelle.
Well, now we're part of the cool kids, Allison.
That's right. We're the cool kids now. Thank you, everybody. And yes, Patrice, the recording will be sent out.
I do want to be mindful of time. I saw a question about whether or not we'll get a replay, and the answer is yes. After this is over, it'll be sent to your email.
Yeah. So with that, I think that's everybody. So thank you so much for your time, Michelle, and for just giving us some hints to check out to better our sleep. I think this was a great session. And real quick, I was going to say, we will have emails coming out about eating for more energy. I got a little caught up with all these questions. Oh, but wait, I can put a link in there that will take you right to it. If you go to AARP/nutrition webinars, and that will have everything Michelle has to offer. She has a whole webpage.
With AARP.
That's right.
Yes.
That's a sign of success when AARP gives you your own webpage.
I am sincerely honored.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. And we will be sending this recording out as soon as it is ready. So look for it later tonight. And Michelle, thanks again. We just love our time with you. So thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll see everybody next time. Thank you. Have a great evening. I hope y'all get some good sleep.
Yes. Sleep well, my friends.
Thank you. Bye-bye.